And so today we are back with another keynote speech by one of our esteemed guests, Ms. Nadia Al Saeed, the CEO of Bank al Etihad. Ms. Al Saeed is the CEO of the third largest bank in Jordan by total assets and has served as the Minister of Information and Communications Technology, ICT, and the ministry's Secretary General from 2003 to 2006. She's made major contributions to the development of the ICT sector in Jordan. Al Saeed is Chairwoman of Endeavor Jordan and is on the advisory board of Women in Business Arabia. She's also a board member of Jordan Payments Company, JoPACC, and Jordan Strategy Forum. She has been selected as one of the most powerful Arab businesswomen by Forbes Middle East from 2014 to 2022. She was also awarded Best Woman in the Corporate Sector in MENA by the AmCham MENA Regional Council. So without further ado, I would like to introduce our keynote speaker, Ms. Nadia Al Saeed.
Hi. Hello, everybody. It's my pleasure to be here with you, to be here with a distinct group of people. And I'm so happy that you have decided to topic. I think the topic of sustainability and the topic of climate change are becoming probably amongst the most important topics worldwide. I know that you've been discussing this topic in the past 2 days, and I know that many of you are very knowledgeable actually in this area. And I'm sure that you understand that climate change and sustainability and ESG are actually imposing new realities. There is a new normal. And this new normal is forcing leaders to rethink how their organizations operate and what is their sense of purpose and why do they exist. I think the principles of sustainability are no longer a nice to have. They actually have become a necessity. They're not just nice to have or good to have, and they're becoming fundamental to doing business. Probably in what you see and what you hear, what will set effective leaders apart from others in the next normal is lies within their ability to find that magic formula to develop a systematic sustainability strategy. And in a way, this is very similar to what happened in digital and in digitization. The sustainability frameworks will actually create a great competitive advantage to those who will learn how to understand it and how to deal with it and how to capture the opportunity out of it. Knowing that you've been discussing this and knowing that you have heard many renowned speakers, I thought maybe I will just, in my short intervention, probably try to give you a practical view from a CEO of an organization, in this case of a bank, on what we are facing and what we're seeing, and how do we see this making a difference in the way we do business. And I would like to hear from you, of course, at the end, what you have in terms of questions and comments. First pillar I would like to talk about really has to do with people and culture. I think that, like talent is the new war now in this era. Everybody is fighting for talent and everybody is competing for talent. And though traditional benefits, of course, stay important, but why people are joining organizations is actually changing. And traditional benefits are no longer enough alone. And we see people placing more weight on purpose and value driven discussions for them to actually decide to join an organization. And it's very refreshing, actually, though probably a bit strange to some people, but it's really refreshing to know that in Jordan, even in all our employees, in all our interviews with the young talent, the new generation, it is really something they're asking us about. In every interview, when you ask the candidate if they have any inquiry or if they have anything to ask about, they really ask you, what are you doing about sustainability? So it's really becoming great. And probably all of us have been reading about all the articles about the great attrition and the great resignation and how organizations need to be more meaningful to employees and help the employees live their purpose while they're working and create a more productive, engaged, and resilient workforce. If you succeed in hitting that sweet spot, you will attract, retain employees with values that align really with the organization. Then you are looking, of course, in that case, at higher loyalty, better retention rates, and talent. I think the pandemic really led us to rethink our workplace culture and to take a more deliberate and institutionalized approach that we are already seeing a positive impact. We've done that, so we're already seeing a very positive impact on our employee NPS. Probably the second pillar or the second angle that I would like to put for discussion has to do with focus. Sustainability is a very broad subject. It's a wide subject. In that sense, it's very similar to strategy. There is so much to talk about. There are so many pillars. And under those pillars, there are sub-pillars and subtopics. So really, you need to focus. You need to know what tallies more with your strategy, with your organization, with your structure, and with your stakeholders, and define where would you as an organization like to have impact. So what organizations often overlook is the importance of engaging their stakeholders in what matters most to them. And I think this is a key element in actually the sustainability of the organization itself, not only sustainability as a topic. And it's really crucial that sustainability strategy is built in and aligned within the corporate strategy and within the business strategy of any organization. Really, it's becoming core to business strategy and to the way we are making decisions, and we are making future decisions on the direction and the priority. And in our case, we're making sure that we are finalizing and our sustainability priority matrix and framework, we keep reviewing it to make sure it's very much aligned with our North Star and with what we're doing. Probably the third angle I would like to draw your attention to has to do with structure. We've learned that structure matters. Where do you place any topic or any function makes a difference on how the organization takes it and how the organization absorbs it. So where sustainability sits in the organization really matters. And in this case of sustainability also, it's very important because it's a cross-cutting theme. I mean, organization in our case is very similar to some experiences that I will talk about soon. For example, in our case, what we did in diversity and inclusion, what we did for the gender program and so on, gave us a lot of lessons learned that I will reflect on shortly, whereby these kind of topics cannot be treated as silos. They cannot sit in a side silo in the organization. They have to be cross-cutting themes. They have to be built in every strategy, every policy, every initiative that you do. Today, you see that many organizations still focus on the PR side or the CSR side of sustainability. And that, of course, does not ensure that you do embed it in everything that you do and in the way that you take decisions. In our case, we have decided to actually put it in a function that reports to the CEO directly, a Chief Sustainability Officer, and probably many of you have seen that model, because we really feel this ensures that it is taken care of and it's embedded across the organization. To create measurable impact, sustainability should be embedded in every cross-cutting theme, corporate strategy, and as we said, not siloed in any pillar. Probably there is no one right answer. Maybe it will differ from one organization to the other, and each organization should see what actually makes sense more for them. Again, what we also see is that in today's world, like sustainability and climate change are becoming an existential issue. Someone might argue that they don't want to be active in trying to find remedy for what's happening in climate change. But in reality, they will have to deal with it. In reality, it will affect every industry. And in the case of a bank, for example, like us, it means that it will affect every customer, every client is subject to what's the impact of sustainability and what can happen. Of course, some people might argue that they don't want to be proactive in trying to stop what's happening or reverse what's happening, but for sure, every one of us is obliged to find ways to deal with it, find ways to reduce impact of what's happening. The other angle probably that I would put for discussion has to do with impact on the business models. So as we said, it's affecting how we're making decisions. And in the case of a bank, again, it's becoming a major element in how we assess risk. And of course, that's major for us in every credit decision, in every investment decision. And being a new discipline, people are still contemplating what's the best way to assess risk. People really don't have proven models. We don't have proven measurement tools yet, and so on. So I think the early adopters will definitely have an advantage if they adopt this approach. Which takes me again to the other practical angle that we always see, which has to do with measurement and reporting. I think it goes without saying that like data is very important. You cannot manage what you cannot measure. And when you delve into this, you find that there's so much data that you need to capture. You need to identify that. You need to flag the data that is needed. You need to collect it. You need to develop a framework to deal with it and to understand it. And you have to establish a baseline as well to be able to measure your progress and to know what you're doing and where you're succeeding and where you're not. Probably I mentioned a little bit earlier, sustainability includes many pillars. One of those is the diversity and inclusion. And in our case, Bank al Etihad in 2007, in 2014, not 7, I don't know where I got the 7 from, we launched our diversity and inclusion program under the name of Shuruq. And we have learned actually many valuable lessons from it. And again, because it's a cross-cutting theme, so you actually face the same kind of challenges. The program that we launched was a holistic proposition for women, financial and non-financial services, to increase access to capital for women and to really focus on economic empowerment of women. The lessons we learned tally with the titles that I was talking about. And yesterday I was I'll be repeating some of this. Yesterday I was at an event where somebody said, I'm repeating, but it's good. And I learned that if you repeat something 7 times, it will stick. So maybe bear with me if that rule is being applied. So in our experience with Shuruq, we learned that data is very important. And it was quite tough to find the right baseline. It was quite tough to find the market data and to really learn how to use it and what to do with it. We also learned that integration from the start is in everything that you do is very important. And this is the only way you can create change. We also learned that this is something where you need to rally the organization. You need to have the buy-in. It cannot be just talk. It cannot be just something that you talk about in the organization. You have to set the tone. You have to train the people. You have to make sure that you do have the buy-in, that they have the knowledge, and you need to teach them. You have to share the knowledge. And it was very crucial for the success that we have actually formed a team of ambassadors, a team of champions across the organization. The other thing also we learned is the importance of iterations. You might not be ready, the ecosystem might not be ready for you to do everything. So you need to keep focusing. You need to choose the 3-4 things that you can do. You need to learn from that. And when you're ready, you actually go to the next set probably of KPIs. And it does not have to be all or nothing. You have to start somewhere and then you improve on what you're doing. And in many cases also, we feel that where the environment is not ready for us to fully implement what we need to do in, for example, with our customers and so on, we also make it a point to do whatever is necessary to be an ecosystem player. So we do the things that, for example, maybe for us as a bank, if we want to implement a very rigid credit policy in terms of green lending or a very rigid investment policy, will be at a disadvantage in a market like Jordan, because the awareness is not yet there and the competition probably is playing in a different place. So what we do, we actually focus on what we can do internally, and we focus on, for example, the guidelines that we can force on our procurement. Recently, we have signed, we were the first bank to sign an agreement with CRIF, the credit bureau, where they have established a new platform that actually can rate customers and can rate vendors, and in a very systematic and simple manner. So we're going to request that every supplier who deals with us has to be has to have the proper rating, etc. So in that sense, probably we can also be an ecosystem player. Where we are now, actually, I think we're a bank that believed in sustainability from the beginning, and probably we have done a lot, and at the beginning, we did a lot on the renewable energy and the solar energy. We did a lot on the water sector, on the environment. We were one of the early investors, one of the early lenders, and actually, even internally, we were the first bank that actually set up a solar energy installation. And today, around 80% of the energy that we use is actually through solar energy. Our head office building and our auto park, etc., are all operated through solar energy. We were the first bank in Jordan to actually launch the gender and the women program and the diversity and inclusion program. We've done all the guidelines for procurement to make sure that we optimize as much as possible our internal processes, our people pillar, and after you do all of this in a fragmented manner, you come to realize how this is affecting you in every possible way, and you realize that it needs to be in a comprehensive framework. And we're hoping soon that we will actually be done with launching our reporting standard. And we hope by the end of this year, we will be issuing our sustainability report to make sure we're actually aligned and to know where we stand and to see how we're going to do, how we're going to go forward, and we're going to publish, what are we going to be focusing on, to measure what we do and see what are we going to do in the future. I think I'll stop there and probably open it for you to ask any questions, comments, or if you would like to shed light on any specific topic.
Thank you, Mrs. Saeed. That was a really great speech. I think we learned a lot about what Bank al Etihad has been doing to move us forward in the sustainability agenda within the region. I think there's been a lot that you've shed light on. Also, the Shuruq program has been something that we've gotten a few questions about from the audience that I'll read one of them here. It says, did you face any pushback when launching Shuruq? Has it been different from the pushback faced due to Bank al Etihad sustainability policy and strategy, more towards the ESG rating stuff?
Well, actually, in the case of the diversity and inclusion, luckily, we had a very supportive board. And they already, probably, I always say that we were lucky because I mean, inclusion and diversity are really part of the DNA of the organization. So already the organization has close to 50% women in the team, in the workforce. And, like already internally, we have equal pay, equal benefits. We make sure that we have checks and balances on our pipeline, from recruitment to promotion to training and so on, to make sure people get equal opportunity. But having said that, we're at a bank at the end of the day. So when we launched it, we made sure that we quantify the opportunity, we understand the gap in the market, and we really presented it as a business opportunity as well, which turned to be the case because, like, it's an underserved market. And of course, women constitute half the society. And though women participation, economic participation in Jordan is much lower than what it should be, but basically there is a lot of up chance, and with the young generation coming up, and that really made the opportunity really worthwhile. And today, probably around 35%, 33% of our customer base are women. And our portfolios actually have grown sevenfold since we started. So, okay, probably there was some, maybe there was some full buy-in from some stakeholders, some skepticism from others, but really now you really have full buy-in. But again, it's because we did what we did in terms of education, in terms of training. We implemented gender training. We made sure to position the proposition properly. We made sure that we do everything that also empowers our customers. That's why we always say it's financial and non-financial services. In the case of sustainability, actually what's happened is that, as I said, without realizing that what we're doing is a full framework of sustainability, we were doing all of this. We've always been very big on CSR. We're a very corporate corporate that is very responsible. We have this gender. As I told you, actually, we've been the first to do this renewable energy installation. We were part of the banks that financed the first phase of the renewable energy and the solar. We were the first, actually, as soon as these projects started, we invested in 3 of them, etc. So we were actually doing all of this, and we've always had special programs for green lending, for green investing, and all of that. So in reality, it's not a matter of pushback. Probably it's a matter of it being overwhelming. Now that you understand how all this comes together, and now that you understand how many details fall under it, and what do you need to do to really integrate it in everything you do, it's a bit overwhelming, of course. But I think, as I said, that's why we decided you have to start somewhere. If you really keep waiting until you perfect things, it's not going to happen. So I would say in this case, it's more understanding how crucial it is, but like wanting to cross that bridge where everything sits in place in a full, complete framework.
Yeah, that's incredible. I think that's something that you discover the more that you are trying to fit within the system of, crossing off the ESG requirements. You've discovered that already, companies like Al Etihad, Bank al Etihad are already doing a lot of these progressive steps, but being able to have that kind of institution for a lot of other companies to do the same now and standardize how they report on these things is going to allow others to hopefully do it. So I guess this is a question from me, but what's some advice you have to other companies that are, you said take it one step at a time, don't be overwhelmed, but where's a good place to start?
Well, I think, as I said, number one, see what fits you. It has to be something that tallies with your strategy. If you try to do something that's completely out of strategy, it won't work. It has to be something that you can integrate while you're implementing your strategy. Otherwise, it will stay being a kind of foreign body to what you're doing, and as if somebody needs to pay attention to that foreign body, while in what we're saying is that embedded in your operation, in your operating model, in everything you do. So that's really very important. And also the other thing is, don't take everything at one go. It won't work. So you really need to see what actually fits in within your strategy and start by 2-3 priorities at a time, and then take it forward. And probably in our case, if anything, I would say I wish we started the reporting a bit earlier, because by now we've done so much and I cannot quantify it. When you ask me, I can describe to you what I've done, but what we have done as a bank, but I cannot give you numbers. The other day we were in discussion with our with somebody, and they asked, okay, so what's the percentage of this and that? I don't know, and it's really bothering me because like we've been doing so much, and I really think we should have been able to measure earlier. And when you get into the measurement, the other thing, of course, is that you find out that small things make a difference, like like small things that have to do with how you even capture a payment to a vendor, and making sure that your accounting system can cater to that and can flag it, so you'll be able to report on it and so on. So it's actually something that we really, organizations need to do early on. And even within that, we decided that, okay, even the measurement and the reporting standard does not have to be the perfect one. Like some of these standards are focused or serve you more from a sustainability and impact point of view. Others serve you more from a business point of view, and so on. So we decided we'll start with something that is standard and that starts capturing, and then we will go forward and we will see how can we develop it further.
Right, and in doing that, you also weren't afraid to maybe report on some things that you're not at your top game for, right? Because when you can demonstrate development and growth over time,
Exactly.
yeah. So this is your first sustainability report,
Yeah.
officially being out there. So we look
Yes.
forward to reading that, and I hope that a lot of other companies will also follow in your footsteps. I think we got a question from the audience as well, calling Bank al Etihad and you yourself, Ms. Nadia, a pioneer in this.
Thank you.
So let me just get to these. Did you get any pushback from the environment you operate in to be able to make these grand changes?
Actually, I wouldn't, in our case, I wouldn't call it pushback as much as I call it, let's say, the maturity level and the competition. It does not, sometimes, as I said earlier, if they're not where they should be, sometimes they put you at a disadvantage from a business point of view. Like if I'm going to say, okay, anything that is not totally green, I'm not going to finance, I'll be out of business because everybody else does. And if I'm going to force very strict standards, people will go to my competition who require nothing, because when customers need money, they just need money. So they're going to go to the best terms that they can afford, regardless of what's the impact on the environment. And that's why I said, meanwhile, what we do is that, okay, we cannot be very strict in our credit or investment strategy, etc. But we do provide a lot of incentive to anything that qualifies. So the terms would be much better. And that's why also we've learned this in many things that we supported. Our bank had a journey also before to support. We're a bank that supports SMEs and supports entrepreneurship and startups and fintechs in a big way. So what we do, we start with what's possible, and we work a lot on the ecosystem, because really we believe that when the ecosystem matures, it's good for everybody. And it's the pie grows for everyone, and then the operating environment is very good. So what we do, we provide these actually incentives and programs that cater to compliant projects, if you wish. And in the meanwhile, we do a lot to try and improve the ecosystem. And we take it forward as the competitive scene allows us to take more. So it's really that, rather than pushing back or somebody pushing you back, actually. And recently, having said that, the Central Bank of Jordan, our regulator, actually has just a few months ago issued a directive encouraging green lending, and another directive encouraging gender and diversity and inclusion, and so on. So I would say that it's going in the right direction.
Excellent. So not only are you trend-setting in this, but literally it's a trend that has gone further and actually been cemented into what the country is trying to achieve now. So we have another question from Ahmed Bassam. As you know, having a good structure of green financial services is essential. Yet we still see that Jordan is small and medium projects in Jordan are still dealt with as personal company loans with relatively high interest rates, with no to little incentives to encourage and uplift the green financial services. I think this is kind of addressed in the previous question. How can the experience of Al Ittihad be replicated in other banks to expand wider green financing away from pilot projects with foreign funding like EBRD Green Financing Program?
Yeah, actually, we have a very strong relationship with and partnerships with the IFIs, including EBRD, IFC, and FMO, and all of these institutions. And we have embarked on several partnerships to promote green financing and to give advantage to this discipline, basically. Having said that, maybe I would say the following. Like SME, given how important it is, and knowing that in Jordan it really is the biggest chunk of the economy, basically. But like we have to understand also that in banking you price risk. So basically, because the question was directed to pricing specifically. So in banking, you price risk, and SMEs, because of the statistics around them and because a lot of them are new businesses or startups and so on, so they do carry with them a higher risk factor. And as such, they require a higher risk premium. So being able to finance them with lower interest rates is not feasible standalone, but it is something that we are able to do in partnerships with all of these IFIs, and in partnership, we recently launched a facility with the FMO that has great conditions, and it doesn't cover only green, it covers many other segments, including youth and women and SMEs and startups. So what we do is we try to find the right facilities and the right programs. And what we also do, sometimes we feel that when you find such programs that allow lower interests, we actually offer them to our customers, though we are a very liquid bank. But we still do, because we feel, okay, we lend some money through that, and we lend some money through us, and then it averages out. And we feel that whenever we can actually extend the benefit to our customer, we do that, even though it would have been more profitable if we actually do it. Probably, like in all these discussions also that you hear, it's a bit of a chicken and egg. It's a bit of a dilemma also still, like, okay, they, for example, in some of the sectors, okay, in agriculture, let's say, you try to reduce the use of fertilizer, you reduce the antibiotics for animals, and you have to be very careful about water, and you have to invest in a lot of technologies for water. And for business to grow and for profit to increase, you have to actually maximize output. So how can you do that? I mean, this is something within, but I think that these things require time to settle in. They require efficiencies that come with technologies. They require maturity of ecosystems to stabilize in the place where you can really take them to growth and to really launch effectively.
Can you comment maybe on how the ecosystems are developing over time? Have you seen any improvements or any steps that need to happen for the continued development?
Well, in the ecosystem, I think that, for example, at large, Jordan has been giving more attention to climate change, and Jordan, as a country, participated in COP in the past few sessions, and I think there is a lot of interest in developing proper strategies. Probably we still need to do more. Probably we still lag behind a little bit, and in my opinion, maybe now we need to tighten it up into a comprehensive strategy. Because what you see is that you see some efforts here and there. For example, we all know that the energy and the renewable energy sector has gone a long way, and a lot has been done there. But you see that, for example, water, not yet, and there are steps to be done. Agriculture is still suffering, and so on. And I know that in the recent sessions that have been taking place between the government and the royal court and the private sector to actually put together the new strategy, I know that the pillar of climate change and sustainability, and that being built in many of the sectors, is being given attention. So I hope the outcome will actually improve where we are.
So we have also another question that maybe builds on this, but Ahmed's asking, in Jordan, almost 40% of jobs are in the informal sector of the economy. you were talking about strategy and being able to do things collectively. Do you see that green financing is a way to support the transition of these jobs or economy to the formal sector of the economy and support the prolonged needed financial inclusion?
Well, I think, like it's in a way, it's this theme is cross-cutting. It applies to this, it applies to SME, it applies to entrepreneurship. Like Jordan is a young population. We have a number of graduates that needs and a number of new jobs that are required. And the only way to do that is to encourage people to set up, to do their own businesses in every sector and to try to help them in doing that. So I would say, of course, having the right infrastructure, having the right infrastructure, having the right financing mechanism, the legal and regulatory frameworks, the necessary training for people is all very important. But as I said, if you need to probably try to take it into building. You need a sectoral view on this, because what's needed for agriculture is very different than what's needed for aviation or transportation, or what's needed for building actually, or what's needed. Of course, finance per se is required for all. Finance and investment is required for all. And in some of the cases, it's not only finance by banks, because in some of these ventures, actually, people probably need equity and they need investment, not only loans, not only borrowing until they are set up and so on. So I think that it is something, of course, that will help create jobs. But I would say that it really requires a view that is sectoral. And I think we need to adopt that the same way this happened when ICT was developed. There was that sector view of what to do, the regulation, the infrastructure, the laws and regulations, the training the people, aligning with academia to make sure you actually graduate the right talent and so on. And then attracting investment, whether local or international and so on. So I would say yes, the same approach would apply.
Amazing. And I will comment that yesterday in one of our sessions, we actually talked about this, the skills and the what they're looking for in the industries is kind of at a mismatch. So the fact that you were able to contribute to that in the ICT sector when you were there is also an incredible feat to you as well.
I generally find that the industry, academia, connections in Jordan need to be strengthened in every sector, because you really need to make sure that the academia is connected with where the industry is going and where the demand is. And there has to be mutual feedback for you to get to the right point.
So in any industry, and especially now the sustainable, different aspects of how to integrate sustainability into our industries. Wonderful. Are there plans for Bank al Etihad to get involved with that? Any?
Well, actually, we're always an ecosystem player, and we always lobby for a better Jordan and for a better economy. So, and we do have actually strong partnerships and ties with universities and with NGOs that support youth and support education. So we'll be happy to be part of anything that will help in that direction.
Wonderful. And I will be closing the Q&A soon. So I think one more question we got from Shad al-Sharif is anything on the horizon for Bank al Etihad that you would like to also highlight beyond the sustainability report?
Anything on the horizon? Oh
yes.
My God. Actually, we have a lot going on. Probably you know that we as a bank have been, our strategy has been to try and be a leading bank, a digital bank in Jordan, or the leading digital bank in Jordan. We're trying our best. So actually there is a lot of investment in that direction. We feel that, offering the best customer experience, banking anywhere, anytime at your fingertips is where things are going, and that integrates payment, integrates all the solutions that fintechs offer. It integrates lending, it integrates, it integrates your life in a way. We don't feel that we should be selling loans or bonds or whatever. We feel we need to be at every point that the customer needs us. It's when you are starting a family, when you are looking at investment, when you are looking at children education and so on. So we feel this is the only way where we can be really integrated in our customers' lives. And we feel that this is the advantage, this is the differentiator, it's really customer experience.
Amazing. So I really want to thank you, Ms. Al Saeed, for joining us today and for sharing everything that Bank al Etihad is doing to help the region become much more sustainable and building that ecosystem. So thank you very much for joining us, and we hope to hear from you again in the future from the MIT
It's my
area.
pleasure. It's my pleasure. Thank you very much. And I'm available if anybody wants to connect. I'll be more than happy.